After so many years, I finally finished watching The Fifth Wave with my wife, and I thought, hey, you know what? Even though it's been so long, this will be an evergreen video. Why not talk about it? Why not break it down? Because this movie, oddly, has like a little special place in my heart. You know, one of those movies that isn't necessarily good, but it kind of reminds you of like maybe a good time in your life, and just the hype for this movie was really strong at the very beginning of it. So I wanted to break it down for you today, and now we're going to talk about everything from the plot, everything I liked, if there's things that I didn't like. There was a fair amount of that, but regardless, we're going to be talking about that today. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another video. If you are new here, my name is Kyle. I am your guy with too many YouTube channels, guys. So, before we actually dive into the plot, I do want to say that I remember back in the day, and I don't even remember when this movie came out, man. I don't remember because my wife weirdly wanted to watch it. Oh, I have it on my screen right now. I had a couple notes. In January 22nd, 2016, so we're heading towards the 10-year mark for this movie. I remember back, I don't know if you guys remember this, because this movie was so hyped up back in the day. The trailers everywhere, whether you're in the movie theater, whether it was a commercial, this trailer was everywhere. The trailer was actually insanely well done. It seemed it was like it was going to be this big, scary alien movie, one likely we'd never seen before. It made it all eerie, kind of like how it had the same vibes of the Transformers 2 trailer. You remember when that first came out and it was like so scary? It was so like menacing. It really, really captured the feel of the movie that you thought it might have. And then Transformers 2 wasn't like that movie at all. Kind of the same deal here, because what they did in the trailer was pretty well just the very beginning of the movie, which was the trailer. So, I do have some things to pick apart about this movie, but at the end of the day, it's one of those, like I said, it's one of those bad movies that I just can't help but really enjoy, guys. Now, let's talk about the actual plot. So we are open up, and it's one of those movies kind of like how you see with Deadpool. We're brought into an action scene. Well, not really an action sequence, but something happens that's in the middle of the movie. Then okay, well, it's time to rewind. And that was my first kill, right? So Cassie's introduction, she had a gun on her. It's a zombie apocalypse type thing. But we did go into this movie knowing that it was an alien invasion. She finds some dude at a gas station. They just point a gun at each other. She says, drop it, but she's worried about someone having his hand in his jacket, and then she just ends up shooting him. She's broken by her first kill, and then we're brought all the way back. We're brought back to Cassie's ordinary life. She's a regular high school girl until it all ended up switching up. You know, how like those movies were kind of introduced, but it was oddly okay. Like I said, the beginning of this movie was a very, very strong. I loved the idea of the 5 waves of alien attacks. So all of a sudden, this giant, colossal alien spaceship just rolls on in, and it even looked really cool. Like, they captured the feel of an alien invasion really, really well, in my opinion. I loved that this ship just came in. It sat there. Everybody was talking about it on social media. But then we go into the actual waves of the attack. The first one being an electromagnetic pulse, killing all of the power everywhere. You see helicopters, planes falling out of the sky. All of a sudden, people's phones aren't working. Really cool. That would damage us so much more today, which is crazy because that was only in 2016. But little do they know that's actually only the first one. So the second one is, I don't know really how to describe it, but the second wave was things like causing natural disasters, things like, I don't know if I want to say tsunamis, but ridiculous floods. So they had to climb trees, they had to get away with it. And the whole goal is to, of course, the aliens want to, and this is something we figure out later on in the movie, the aliens just need to inhabit Earth. They didn't really like go too deep into it, but they needed Earth, and they needed the humans wiped out. So that was the plan. They kill all the power, they start causing some natural disasters, the floods. A lot of the human race ended up passing away. Then we move on to the third wave, which is a virus, and arguably the most effective way to kill people. I would argue that's probably better than actually just sending out any pulses or controlling people like the next wave, or starting just, oh, earthquakes, that's what it was. It started a bunch of earthquakes. Oh yeah, earthquakes in the ocean, so it was tsunamis. Yes, I remember now. I don't know, having a little bit of a blank there, but regardless, because nobody is ever respectful. Nobody's respectful. Look just what happened in 2020. And I'm not, don't get me wrong, I'm not one of those guys sitting here be like, hey, everybody just needs to stay home. Like, don't jump the gun on me in saying that. Don't jump the gun. That's not what I'm talking about, okay? I'm not talking about, like, 'cause you can draw political opinions into that, and I keep that private. I'm talking about people having the, like, not having the common decency to at least cough in their sleeve. They don't have the respect for that. Could you just imagine if we had like a horrible, deadly aviation? Is that what it's called? The avian flu? Why am I having a blank right now? It doesn't really matter. Different version of the bird flu. It was a bird flu. Why am I having blanks? I'm tired, man. But anyways, we move on to the fourth wave after that, and that is when the others, which is the name of the aliens that came in, they ended up getting the ability to control humans. They would actually like kind of slide in, take over their brains, and then they would lead to a lot of people killing each other. And this is where we are in our movie. We need to figure out and prepare and wonder what the fifth wave is. We need to stop these aliens before the fifth wave actually happens, because their goal is to wipe out all of civilization. And this is where the movie kind of takes place, is they kind of roll through all of those. And this is something that I wish that the movie did earlier, was I wish the entire movie was kind of based off experiencing and going through life throughout the entirety of the fifth waves. I thought that would have been really cool, and then maybe have a sequel to it, kind of like what the movie ended up actually being about, but done just a little bit better. But regardless, Cassie and her family, they end up going to a refugee camp where all of the kids were going to be taken to become soldiers to fight against the others, and we didn't know at the time that the others were actually the people running the camp. Long story short, Cassie ends up getting separated from Sam, and she witnesses her father die because they all wanted to go to their kids. Everybody ended up pulling a gun. The others are among them. Everybody just shoots each other. Everybody dies. And with that begins Cassie's own kind of escape on her own. Her whole goal is to make it back to Sam. She has to deal with her father actually dying. She needs to take on a ton of responsibility. And I believe this is where we actually ended up seeing the gas station part, because she's running around by herself. But regardless, all of this leads to her just traveling, trying to get back to Sam. She ends up getting shot with a sniper, blacks out. And when she wakes up is honestly when the movie kind of goes a little bit downhill for me, because now Evan had some serious potential. Okay, she meets this dude named Evan who was taking care of her, and Cassie, being like the piece of crap that she is, decided to walk on that leg, say things like, "Don't care about me." She was passed out for a week. This guy saved her, took her into her home, and I understand, like, not to trust her, but she's getting pissed off about, like, him taking away her gun when he doesn't know who she is, and he's like, "Hey, you might shoot me." Like, come on, man. Come on. But Evan supposedly lost his entire family, so he decided to accompany Cassie on her mission to go get back Sam, although throughout it, she wanted to learn how to defend herself, how to use a gun. That stupid scene where it's time to disarm anybody. Like, I looked at my wife and I just shook my head, because as somebody who has an extensive background in martial arts, this stuff really, really bothers me. You ever see those TikTok videos where it's like, how to disarm somebody who has a gun at your face? And it's like, it's one of those like same moves that's shown in the movie where it's like, just, psh, that never works. It's stupid. Regardless, they travel together a little bit. They bond a little bit. She watches him wash himself in a lake. They are building a little bit of a bond together. And what did that end up leading to? They're sleeping into a car one night, and for some reason, like, again, it's so weird, because I don't like it and I think it's bad, but at the same time, I kind of enjoyed watching it. I don't know if you guys feel the same way. I'm sure there's those movies out there that you kind of feel the same way about, but I have no idea why it was kind of just this one for me. So she learns after we get this attack, and they go, "Hey," I don't remember if they said Evan or Agent or whatever it was, "You were on a mission." It was revealed by the people that were going to attack Cassie, but he ends up fighting him off. He has some superpowers. He's flying around doing these crazy kicks, and she freaks out on him. Cassie freaks out on him, understandably so, but he ended up having his human connection to her. She woke something inside of him. The others came down. The others were down here way before the ship actually came, and they planted people, and he was kind of born. The other kind of virus was laying dormant in him, and when they came back, it awoken. He's back on his mission, but then he found true love. He explains to her that if he was going to kill her, he would have done it a long time ago. Makes sense, to be honest with you, but it also makes sense for Cassie to say something along the lines, I don't remember exactly what she said, but she was like, "All right, you follow me, and I shoot you." She took off. She's going to go get Sam himself. But now we're brought back over to the military kids, and I never really touched on them, because you had Ben Parrish, which is actually a really funny joke throughout the entire thing. She ended up writing in his diary, and then once they ended up coming up, it was like, this is Ben Parrish of all people, and I thought that was a good joke, to be honest with you, but he ended up being in control of this military squad of children. You had the girl who was a really good shot, who was completely obnoxious. I hated her. She was the worst. They go on this mission together, and Ben ends up locking Sam into the government facility. And long story short, they end up shooting a bunch of people. They figure out that the mask that they had on only showed humans, because the leaders ended up being the others themselves, and they tasked the kids in the military to go kill other humans. I actually thought that was a good idea for the fifth wave, to be honest with you. Then again, like, a lot more work actually went into that. Like, okay, we're going to take all these kids, we're going to train them, and we're going to make them into soldiers, and we're going to make them all kill each other. When you could just continuously flood the place over and over and over again, create a new strain of a virus. But hey, that wouldn't really make for a movie. Actually, it would make for a good movie. It would make for a good movie. Having all these natural disasters, tsunami after tsunami, tornado, disease. I think that'd be really cool for a great movie. But anyways, after they figure it out, they end up taking out their trackers. They end up having Ben shoot himself. Or the girl with a really good shot ended up shooting Ben, so he would get picked up, brought back to military. They ended up confessing to him that, like, hey, we're the others and we're going to kill you. But then there was an emergency and everybody just completely forgot about Ben. But and this is where Cassie started coming into the place. She killed one of the sergeants, choked her out completely, put on the uniform. And I actually looked at my wife, which is funny. He's like, okay, is that like sergeant just laying in that room naked because she didn't like swap clothes or anything? She just put on the uniform. She strolls on out. She meets up with Ben. They get into a little bit more trouble. They find Sam. Everything is A-okay. And then they run into a bunch of other military people looking to either kill them or capture them. This is the best part of the movie because Evan then strolls on in. He loved Cassie all this time. Everything's A-okay. And why is everything going crazy at the government base? Oh, Evan was planting bombs. That's literally the best part about the movie. And I don't know why I didn't laugh at that back in the day because it's so stupid. Like, Evan, what are you doing here? I've been planting bombs. And like, that's it. The whole place is exploding and everything's okay because Evan strolled in and I've been planting bombs. And to be honest with you, like, it was a pretty quick movie. I don't know how long I've been talking for, but that's pretty well the end of it. They get in a car, they escape, they chill back. They're like, hey, I went to high school with that girl. And then the movie ends. Like, I didn't think it was that great, but I weirdly enjoyed it. There's nothing else to break down there. There's a lot of walking. There's a lot of like just useless romance. I need to save Sam. I'm running through a bunch of hallways. There's nothing of real structure to it. I think the movie would have been a lot better if they decided to make it throughout the entire fifth waves. I think that would have been so cool. The movie was called The Fifth Wave. The whole trailer just showed all of the waves, and the trailer was actually in the movie because after that, and I know I complain about the fact that we see too much in trailers, but like, come on, man. There was actually a snippet from the beginning of the movie, and the movie wasn't about the 5 waves. It was about the 5th wave. And I know what the title is, but it wasn't necessarily implied within the trailer. But then again, we'd be praising it, right, if it ended up being like this spectacular thing. I always thought it'd be cool to get a sequel to that, but of course that was in 2016. I'm looking at it right now because I have some stats up here. The budget was 38 to 54 million, and it made 109.9 million. So they could have done another one. Regardless, watched an old movie, wanted to review an old movie, wanted to talk about it because, hey, why not? Evergreen content. And I'm sure that there's people out there watching it, guys. Let me know what you thought about it down below. Thank you so much for watching. Why don't you check out one of these 2 playlists on screen? I don't know if I can put them on here. If not, there's a video YouTube thinks you'll like. Check it out, guys. Take care, everybody.